Hey guys, it's Belle, and in this video I'm going to be reading through and translating this short little epigraphic poem which was written on the tombstone of a fallen Visigothic warrior. So exciting stuff, and let's get into it. And as usual, forgive me if my Latin pronunciation in poetry is not the best. So, Hec cava saxa opilani continent membra, clarum in ordrum natalium gestua bitu conspicum. Opibus quippe pollendet ardum virdibus cluens, iacula vei precipitur predoque bacis, destinatur in procinctu belli necator petulationes odalium desolatus, navetur cede, per cursum clientes rapiunt peremptum exanimis domum, reducitur suis abernulis, matur lugit coniux cum flebris fletibus. Familia prestrepit, decies ut ternos ad quaternos vixit per annos. Predie septembrium idus morte vasconibus multatus era, sescentesima et octagenissima id gestum memento sepultus sub die quiescit sex idus Octobres. So, what does all of this mean? So Hec Kavasaxa Pilani continent membra, that's quite simple. These empty stones contain the limbs of this man called Opilanus. Clarum in ortum, so the distinguished man in birth of his parents, Natalium, gestu habituque conspicum, and a noteworthy man in his behavior and his habitu, in his clothing. Opibus quippe pollens, like flourishing in riches, et artum virdibus cluens, and I guess being fruitful with the powers of his skills. Iacula vehi precipitur predoque bachis, and the thief ordered darts to be thrown, and I'm taking this dative to mean at, so at the Bachis, which I'm tentatively going to say are the Basques, but I'm not fully certain really. This line, I must confess, does confuse me a little bit, but let's just say that the thief, this predo, this plunderer, referring to the man himself, was like throwing, or taught others to throw spears at the Basques. Destinatur in procinctum belli, he is fated for the readiness of war. Necatur opitulatione sodalium desolatus. The man bereft of his comrades, sodalium desolatus. Now, this is a very common trope in the early Germanic literature to describe a man bereft of his kinsmen, basically. Necatur opitulatione, he is killed by assistance, so others helped to kill him. So there's one of two ways this can be read. We have one genitive here, sodalium. It could either go with desolatus, so the man bereft of his friends, or it could mean by the assistance of companions, necatur, he is killed. It's hard to say. Naviter cere, quickly give ground. Now I think what this means is maybe like kneel before the tomb. Perculsum clientes rapiunt peremptum exonimis domum. Now, this is kind of odd because perculsum peremptum would be masculine or neuter adjectives, whereas domus is a feminine noun. So this could be a grammatical mistake here. It looks, however, like perculsum, peremptum, and domum all go together in some kind of way. So clientes, the clients, literally, or the mercenaries, rapiunt perculsum peremptum domum. The hired hitmen, let's say, or the mercenaries, rapiunt, they steal the marvelous destroyed home, exonimus, of the deceased man. And this is now making me think that the genitive sodalium here actually goes with opitulazione, right? Because what seems to be happening is this was a man who was, very wealthy, and he was skilled at what he did, and he perhaps taught people in wars against the Basques to throw darts. And he was well prepared for warfare, but he was betrayed by the sort of assistance of his friends, and the mercenaries, which are the friends who he once had who were paid off by probably the Basques. They steal his wealthy house once he has deceased. I think that's what's happening here. Reducitur suis a vernis. He is returned to his countrymen, or from his countrymen. Humatur, he is buried. Lugit conjux cum liberis fletibus. His wife laments with generous tears. Familia prestrepit. The family wails. Decius ut ternos ad quaternos vixit per annos. Now this is a weird way of phrasing it. I'm fairly sure this means he's living to the age of 46, because decius ut ternos would be a really fancy way of saying 10 times 3, which is like 30. And then ad quaternos, to 4/4. He lived through the years. So I think what this is 30 years plus 4 times 4, which is 16. So he lived for 46 years, I think is what this is getting at. Predie septembrium idus. So the day before the Ides Septembrium of September, morte multatus, the man who was mutilated in death, a Vasconibus, by the Basques, era sescentesima et octagensima, in the year 680. Id gestum, this was done. Memento, or remember that this was done, in the year 680. Sepultus, he was buried, sub die, on the day, the 6th Ides of October, or 6 days before the Ides of October. He rests in peace now, which is kind of sad. So we've got this story here of Oppilanus, who presumably was Roman or maybe Visigothic. We don't have any indication of his ethnic origin here. But given actually that he was distinguished in the birth of his parents, there's a decent chance he was Ostrogothic, although this could just as well be, Roman aristocracy that's carried on in Spain. Although this notwithstanding, given the relatively late date of this is the year 680. So this is very long into the period of Visigothic rule. So by this point, probably most of the nobility were, at least to some extent, of Visigothic descent. So there's a decent chance that Oppilanus himself was a Visigoth, or descended from the Visigoths. So this man called Oppilanus was well prepared for war. He taught people to throw spears at the Basques, but he was betrayed when they bought off his friends and they killed him, and then they sort of stole his wealthy villa once he died, and he was taken back from the battlefield by his compatriots, and he was buried presumably in Spain. His wife laments and his family cries. He was mutilated in death by the Basques, so his body must have been torn apart, which would have been psychologically really distressing for the Visigoths, because they would have believed, like Christians at the time did, that the integrity of the body was essential because the body would rise again on the last day. So this was quite a traumatic military defeat that's being recorded and recounted here. So that is the poem recounting the tragic death and mutilation of a Visigothic warrior. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want me to teach you Latin or any of the other languages that we do on this channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon, which will be linked in the description of this video. You can also join my Discord server, where I tend to post these Latin tidbits before they are turned into videos. And until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye everyone!